What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we've got a reaction to Fiona Apple, her album Extraordinary Machine, brought to us by a friend and patron of the channel, Vita. Thank you, Vita. Appreciate you. Appreciate all the patrons who make this thing go. If you do like sports in any way, check out the Patreon link below. The Patreon link on the screen. We couldn't do it without the patrons who put up videos every single day. Now, last month I did Win the Pawn by Fiona for Vita. I'm going to have that. I'll link that down below for you so you can click on that and watch that after this. And I shared in that video, I wasn't a huge fan of Fiona going into that review. I didn't know a lot of her stuff. What I did know, I didn't really know what I thought. But when you dive into an album this way with both research and then headphones, lyrics, really immerse yourself in the album, a lot of times you can have a different feeling, not only about an album, but also an artist. And I found that with Fiona. I thought that album was tremendous. This one is like a soap opera, the story behind it. I spent probably, don't worry, I'm going to be quick on the research here that I share with you, but I spent, at least 2 hours, maybe longer, just reading stuff on this album because it became fascinating. But I'll summarize it for you here. This is their third studio album released by Epic Records in the US in October of 2005. Produced by John Bryan, sort of. We'll get to that. It was expected to be released in 2003, but was delayed several times by the record label without explanation, leading to speculation that a dispute had arisen over its commercial appeal. The controversy surrounding the album and leaked recordings of the John Bryan sessions were the subject of substantial press attention, as well as a highly publicized fan-led campaign to see the album officially released. In collaboration with producers Mike Elizondo and Brian Cahew, Apple re-recorded the album over 2004 and 2005 as eventually released more than 3 years after the original recording sessions began. The album was nominated for the Grammy Award for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2006. In 2009, it was named the 49th Best Album of the 2000s by Rolling Stone. And in 2020, they ranked it at 444 on the album's 500, or on the list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. So here's kind of the background story in a quick summarized form. After she completed the concert tour for the Win the Pawn album, she said, she relocated to LA, and she said, the first couple of years after Pawn, I didn't have anything left in me to write about. I just figured if the songs came to me, they came to me, and if not, oh well, it's been fun. But during that hiatus, John Bryan, who was her longtime friend and producer and produced on Win the Pawn, met for their weekly lunch meeting. They had weekly lunch meetings. And John had been in a 5-year relationship, and it recently ended. So he asked her, I need to immerse myself in my work. Can you write another album and do it? And because Fiona was a good friend, she said, sure, we'll do that. They set a tentative release date of November of 2002. John had went to the record label and said, look, we got to have no deadlines, no stipulations, and Epic said, sure. So that was when they kind of set the tentative. Now, the album was completed from John Bryan's perspective in May, but they pushed the release back to September. But by the fall of that year, they were back in the studio, John and Fiona putting finishing touches on the album. As this continues to go, if we did the internet back then, if we had social media and stuff, this stuff would have just been insanely speculated. But little by little, details came out that the album was all over the place, that maybe it wasn't going to be commercially successful because there wasn't an appealing track or a few tracks for singles on there. And even there's some leakage of the track Extraordinary was referred to as a 10-pan alias blend of Tom Waits and vaudeville. Lots of Waits up on here, by the way, on our channel. While the more energetic Better was described as an outcast-like deluge of beats. So you had everything on this album. Now, Bryan eventually said that when Epic had desired materials in the vein of Fiona's debut title, but when confronted by this album, it's just not that the obvious easy sell to them. Then all these things started leaking, right, on the internet back when we had torrent and all these things. So they were leaking all these songs, leaked to a DJ. And so all these songs that were, quote, finished, according to John, but that were not supposed to be out there. Finally, Epic has to address this, right? They said in a statement all the way on August 15th of 2005. So remember, this was supposed to come out at the end of 2002 initially. They said it would be officially released October 4th, 2005, extensively reworked by the producers Elizondo and Cahew. Elizondo played bass on 2 Win the Pawn tracks, but one reporter had described him as, quote, a curious departure from Bryan because of his more well-known production work with popular hip-hop artists such as 50 Cent, Dr. Dre, and Eminem, the who's who of hip-hop artists back then. He and Cahew worked at the Phantom Studio located behind Elizondo's Westlake Village home, reworking each song. So track by track, they built from Fiona's vocals and piano, which is not much different than what John Bryan did on Win the Pawn. If you watch that review, I'll talk about that. They added live drums with the help of Abe Labrie Jr. and Questlove, and then instrumental flourishes. Once the song frameworks had been completed, she returned to the studio and recorded final performances. The New York Times suggested Epic Records was not impressed with fan interest in the bootleg and that Apple never considered the album finished. But by the time of the leak, she and Elizondo had been at work for some time since April of 2004. In an interview with Rolling Stone in September of 2005, Fiona explained her decision. She said, "I gathered scraps for songs and ended up writing the rest on the way. A totally new approach for me. I didn't have enough time to live with the songs before recording them, so I really didn't know what I wanted." Despite rumors that the album had caused a rift between Bryan and Apple, they performed together at Largo the Friday evening before Epic's announcement. Bryan told MTV News, "She's re-recorded a bunch of stuff, but whatever, that's her business. I remain a fan, and I think she's great. She shouldn't have to meet too much resistance." Meanwhile, Elizondo, his sister Bryan, was cool on all fronts about the proposed re-recording. Metacritic, who gathers all ratings together, gave an 84 out of 100. NME a 7 out of 10. Pitchfork only a 6.2 out of 10, but critical acclaim grew for this, right? The official version of this, I'll get into that in a minute, was ranked #1 on year-end top album lists of Entertainment Weekly, the New York Times, and Slant Magazine, within the top 5 in the Village Voice, Blender Magazine, and Rolling Stone, in the top 10 in Los Angeles Times and Spin. It was nominated for a 2006 Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album. It debuted at #7, making it her first top 10 album. However, it fell out of the top 10 in its second week. None of the singles charted anywhere. It did chart in the top 60 in Australia. The thing is, guys, there's 2 different versions of this album that exist out there. Like, you're not going to find the bootleg, the Bryan version on Spotify, but you can find it on YouTube. And there's 2 different camps. Some people love this version, the official version, and some people love the Bryan version. So those of you watching this, I'm sure you're probably Fiona fans. You're going to need to let me know. I'll just tell you now in the comments below which one you prefer. And there's probably a mix of songs you like from each. But as always, all tracks are written by Fiona. The music will not be in the video, but it's going to be at a Vimeo link below. So follow along with us. And we're going to start this thing off, as you see below, with the title track. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Thanks again, Vita. Okay, Extraordinary Machine, the title track. So basically, on the song, Fiona said in an interview, that she wasn't going out a lot at writing songs and wasn't really going anywhere, at the time between these 2 albums. And some of her family and friends were really worried about her. She goes, "I don't need anybody to worry about me. I'm fine." Right? But when they worry about me, I start to worry about myself. Don't worry about it, I'm fine. So she said I needed to write a song to kind of let them know, leave me alone, I'm fine. So that's what this was about. Very interesting instrumentation. I did read this is one of 2 songs that survived the sessions recorded with John Bryan. The last track on the album is the other. And so it's got a marimba in it that John plays, and he also does the orchestral strings, like he's arranging those. I don't know what I think of the arrangement. I got used to it the longer it went on, but it's definitely a unique sound. Except we have Get Him Back. It was a single. Blender Magazine ranked it 35th on its list of the 100 greatest songs of 2005. This one's going to have the Moog bass played by Mike Elizondo. Questlove is on the drums. So just a little FYI. Get Him Back. I like the arrangement of that. I thought the piano work was really good on there. So everything worked. And interesting song. A lot of people think it's about Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, part of it, I'm sure, probably is. She won't ever admit to that, which most artists don't when they write something about an ex, right? But she talks about 3 different men on here and then progresses the song that way. One man, he disappoint me. He give me the gouge and he take my glee. Now every other man I see remind me of the one man who disappointed me. So she doesn't use plurals here, which is strange. Of course, wait till I get him back. He won't have a back to scratch. Yeah, keep turning that chin and you'll see my face. In other words, I think she's telling me, like, I'm always watching you, man. I'm always behind you as I figure out how to kill what I cannot catch. So now she's up to the second guy. So the first guy messes her over. Next one up, a contemptible snob. He lived to put things in their place. He did a commendable job. He put himself so low, he can hardly even look me in the face. And then we get that same chorus. But the third verse, but the last one I had, it was getting my hopes up. I might have been a little fast to dismiss. I think he let me down when he didn't disappoint me. He didn't always guess right, but he always got my gist. So I think she was expecting the worst from him and just didn't get that. So on the chorus, so wait till I get him back. I'm going to bring him home and I'll watch him unpack. Yeah, keep turning that chin. And you see, we'll see my face is fixed on the one. I'm going to get back. So she went opposite. Now she realizes she needs this guy back. So a beautiful progression of this song. Next up, we have Oh Sailor. Oh Sailor, just kind of a vibe, right? Just kind of a vibe. The longer that song went on, it's like 5.5 minutes long. It was just I just really enjoyed it. She's in this relationship, right, that she knows she shouldn't be. And, you know, sailors, I think she goes with the Oh Sailor because sailors were known for, you know, they come into a port and then they just kind of ship out, right? They kind of leave the girl, they're with her, and then see you later. Because, of course, Oh Sailor, why'd you do it? Why'd you do that for? Saying there's nothing to it and then letting it go by the boards. And then she's verse 3 I thought was really well. I have too been playing with 52 cards just because I play so far from my vest. So there's 52 cards in a deck of cards. So she doesn't have one up her sleeve. She's showing them everything. So whatever I've got, I've gotten a reason to guard. What could I do but spend my best? So she's not holding anything back to this guy, right? She's not on guard like most people are when they first get in a relationship. So yeah, I mean, that was really well done. Except we have Better Version of Me. All right, Better Version of Me. Fiona said about this song, it's really hard to figure out kind of what this song is about, right? She says when she wrote the song, someone read the lyrics and criticized her for writing impersonal lyrics. She blames it on the fact that her songs are difficult to understand because she uses obscure words she looks up on dictionaries and books of words and phrases as figures of speech, and she wants the listener to look up the phrases as well and interpret them on their own. And this song is filled with that, almost like a Bob Dylan-like throwback to all this little literary play on words, but it was a catchy tune. Next up, we have Temps, the Sick in the Head song in parentheses. All right, Temps, the Sick in the Head song. She's infatuated with this guy, and I mean, it's in the chorus, what she really wonders. I'm either so sick in the head, I need to be bled dry to quit, or I just really used to love him. I sure hope that's it, that it's just love and that she's not crazy. So it's interesting because it has this fascinating soundscape mixed with darker lyrics. And I mean, you got everything on this soundscape. You have a clavinet, you have a celesta, you have the normal stuff, the piano, the drums, the bass. You have a mellotron, you have a tack piano, an octagon, a Wurlitzer, a marimba, a marxophone, and a Chamberlin. So, I mean, we got everything here, boys and girls, and it gives it that interesting arrangement. Next up, we have Parting Gift. It's the only song on the album not to have originally been recorded during the John Bryan produced sessions. On top of that, Fiona recorded it in one take. All right, Parting Gift. Arrangement definitely dialed back. This is Fiona and her piano. And I think the chorus, the way I interpret it, oh, you silly, stupid pastime of mine, talking to this guy. You were always good for rhymes, probably always good for a song. And from the first to the last time, the sign said stop. But we went ahead. We went on wholehearted. It ended bad, but I love what we started. It said stop, but we went on wholehearted. It ended bad, but I love what we started. So she kept diving into the relationship they both did, even though they knew it probably wasn't going to work out. Then I like that. I took off my glasses while you were yelling at me once, more than once. So as not to see you react. So as not to see you see me react. Should have put them on again so I could see you, see me sincerely yelling back. So definitely some issues back and forth between them. So let's say a fiery relationship, lots of passion, right? But didn't really work out, but she's able to get a lot of songs out of it. All right, we'll kick off the second half of this album with Window. All right, Window. So we got a clavinet, a trombone, and a trumpet on here to add with the other traditional instrumentation. It adds a little bit of texture to it. Basically, the window that she's looking through is the guy that she's in a relationship, right? But he's with someone else because of the chorus. So I had to break the window. It just had to be. So she had to break the relationship, right? Better that I break the window than him or her or me. So you realize where she's at. And she kind of just goes through that, how she kind of became maybe a little bit too infatuated with him, or he was the lens she viewed everything else through, that relationship and her love of him. So now she broke that window and she's free of that. Next up, Oh Well. All right, Oh Well. It's about a breakup. I'm sure it's about Paul Thomas Anderson. I mean, I can't be positive, but I mean, I'm pretty darn sure that's what it's about. Because she talks about this before she plays a song at this concert. I listened to this audio of it. and she was saying this guy cheated on her with like a star, with this really well-known actress who was on the cover of all these magazines, and she said she was crying about it, and her brother was with her, and they went into this store because she was going to buy a radio right back then. And the store had wall-to-wall TVs. And she says she just got done crying about it. They walk in and that girl is on every one of those TVs in this movie that she was in. So she says that and said, the best work this girl will ever do is inspiring me to write this song. So I just thought that was a great story. A well-done song, but an even better story. Next up, we have Please, Please, Please. Not really sure what this song's about. I think it's about writing different kinds of music, but I don't know, man. I try to dive into those lyrics, and some people's interpretations are kind of all over the place. Vibraphone on here, it's just listed as vibes on the sound, but it means vibraphone. It's been on other stuff, but the vibraphone really lends something to the music in here. And the please, please, please with the keyboards, it just kind of made this song stick in my head more so than some of the others. Next up, we have Red, 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 following up, the please, please, please. And maybe it's going to be catchy too. Red, 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 a cleverly written song talking about the colors and how I don't understand how complementary colors. And what they say, side by side, they both get bright. Together, they both get gray. But he's been pretty much yellow and I've been kind of blue. But all I can say is red, 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 red. Now, what am I going to do? So she's saying opposites don't really attract, that they kind of cancel each other out and form gray when they get together, which is true on a color wheel and true in the relationship. And then I don't understand about diamonds and why men buy them. What's so impressive about a diamond except the mining? But it's dangerous work trying to get to you too. And I think if I didn't have to kill myself doing it, maybe I wouldn't think so much of you, the chase, right? So well done song. A little more chill for sure on the arrangement. We got 2 songs left. We've got Not About Love. It was the 3rd single off this album. Another one of them with Questlove on the drums. Not About Love. This is the one that was leaked to a DJ in Seattle that kept playing over and over and that everybody liked. Now, I don't know if it was this version or it was the Brian version, I think, but I'm not positive on that. But this one is basically, her relationship's over with this guy, right? And she's fine with that, right? She's fine with that. They must have gotten an argument, both said things they can't take back. Now she truly thinks she sees this guy as characters. And so she's not upset that the relationship's not going to work out. She's upset that, once again, I think that she's kind of failed at love or didn't see it. Because, of course, this is not about love, because I'm not in love. In fact, I can't stop falling out. This is not about love. I cannot stop falling out. I miss that stupid ache. And then a different little arrangement at the end with the piano really going all in. All right, here we go. We're to the final song. Waltz, Better Than Fine, in parentheses. Waltz, Better Than Fine. Just like the first track, the title track, this was the John Bryan version of this, right? So they book in this album, and you can tell kind of by the different sound. I actually enjoyed this one more. This one was also written to the people who, there's the same concept as the title track of who, because she wasn't making music, this one's even more obvious toward it. Like her friends, family who was reaching out to her, that it's fine. She says, if you don't have a song to sing, you're okay. You know how to get along humming. You don't have a date, celebrate, go and sit on the lawn and do nothing, because it's just what you must do and nobody does it anymore. No, I don't believe in the wasting of time, but I don't believe that I'm wasting time. So she just kind of keeps going on with that. But you got the great Benmont Tench from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on organ here. And the great, great Jim Keltner, who's played drums with everybody known to man on this thing. And a little shout out to Vita here, the patron that brought this, because there's a little tie-in with Conor Oberst, one of her favorites, because Keltner played the drums and co-produced Conor's 2017 album Salutations, which I have not listened to yet, but I bet I'm going to be getting to that one at some point. But little tie in there, but a good way to end this album. And I thought it was interesting they bookended them with the John Bryan tunes. That's going to bring me to my favorite tracks. There's 12 tracks on here. My honorable mentions are going to be Oh Sailor and Red, Red, Red. My favorites are going to be Get Him Back and then Parting Gift, the one that was piano only, and Fiona. But there wasn't a bad track on here at all. I really did enjoy this journey. I don't like it as much as I like Win the Pawn, but I mean, that's not any sort of dig. I'm going to beat a very solid 7.5 on this. A really good listening experience from start to finish. Fantastic arrangements. I'm going to, at some point, go back and listen to the original John Bryan. I guess I got 2 of the tracks on here and just see how much different the original album was from this one. But let me know what you think of this one. Where do you rank it in her catalog? Tell me your favorite tracks below. Thanks again to Vita. Until next time, I will see you.